Hey guys, this is Tarak, and in this video I'll be doing a review of chapter 1124 of One Piece. It looks like this one actually came out earlier, and I'm glad I didn't see it though, because I did in a video I wasn't expecting to make, but I had an idea to do this morning. And if you look at this time, this is the evening of the 22nd of August, and my time zone in the U.S. About the I went over the stuff with Oda's message and the news therein with it about how One Piece season 2 and the live actions what episodes it would cover. And I probably would have done this chapter instead, but now I'm still up here, and it's still relatively early where I am, so I'll be doing this now because I'll be busy tomorrow. And so I'm glad this came out this time, because usually lately, for several weeks or more now, maybe many months now, the chapters have been coming out on, or the weeks. It could be like a couple months or so. It's been coming out on Fridays. Before that, it was Thursdays. It used to be Wednesdays. When I started doing my own consecutive reviews of the. Wait a minute, I want this up a little bit. Reviews of the One Piece chapters when Egghead started. These were always coming out. These fan translated ones were coming out on Wednesdays, where the so the official ones will come out the coming Sunday from that day on Shonen Jump. And so it's been a little frustrating with them coming out later in the week, because I usually have other stuff to get done, especially on Fridays now. It used to be Saturdays. I do some errands all in one day, and it's usually Friday I prefer to do them now. So I have Saturday off, the weekend in a whole, because I get lots of chores around the house done that way. Anyways, so I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm very, happy that this came out now, tonight, because I'm going to get this done here and, go into and get my chores done tomorrow, and I can relax a little bit and see other people's reviews as they come out. So the main part of the last chapter was a full flashback around Vegapunk, Shaka, and Pythagoras, and how they figured out what was happening. By the way, the chapter, I missed what that meant. The chapter was about a fortnight, and it was like that's apparently old-fashioned meaning for like what was that, 2 weeks lost, old-fashioned terminology for 2 weeks that was used, and so Oda used that here, and it had to do with how Shaka, we followed through how Shaka, Pythagoras, and Vegapunk had noticed what was going on. With the Mother Flame being a piece of it being stolen, and that they started investigating what was going on, and they figured out it was York, and then they started figuring out like what was gonna. That's where Vegapunk figured out that something was gonna happen. So he already had, because he was already researching the Void Century. He had a suspicion that he had a suspicion of the world government possessing a ancient weapon, and he had Pythagoras or Shaka immediately start having some of their instruments. They have to check if anything unusual happened, like the earthquakes and tsunamis and such. And he proved to be right on that. And actually, that's funny. Did he? Because in his message he said, like, if nothing happens, ignore this message. But I thought he recorded the message well after he followed that Lucia happened. I feel like that was a little mistake Oda could have made, right? I think there's. Let's see. Wait a minute. Let's see. Yeah, so that was 6 days ago. Yeah, the way he said that, he should have saw some of that stuff before he recorded the message. I feel like that was a slight mistake Oda made. That's hard to do that. I'm trying to write my own stuff, and I'm trying to think about that kind of stuff. Like I want to write down like little things that I wouldn't, so I wouldn't make those kind of mistakes. I've seen some videos lately I want to watch someday on Harry Potter and about certain little things like that that were mishaps, things like that that Rowling made. So I'm not blaming him for that. I'm not trying to be mean about it or anything, but I think that was something that he said earlier in that when the message started about 10 chapters ago, where he shouldn't have had to say that way. He said, he should have said something like, as the time of recording this, I know that there was a incident that happened with Lulusia, and everyone now has probably experienced tsunamis, and if not, some of you will. Like maybe it hadn't reached the whole world by the time, because I think it was 4 days apart from when he recorded the message and from when after Lulusia disappeared. Anyways, so yeah, the rest of the chapter is him preparing for what was going to happen. They didn't see any way. Vegapunk didn't see any way to escape, and so he and Shaka and Pythagoras made a plan to recording the message and stuff to make sure that at least the truth of what happened got out. And then it just so happened that Luffy and the other Straw Hats show up, and they plan on trying to escape. And also so what they did too is they erased the memories because they were worried that York would find out, and that things would he was worried that when did he do that, by the way? I forget the timeline of that, but he must have been worried, yeah, that by the time at some point Cypher Pole would come, but he wanted to make sure he had time to. Well, that still doesn't make sense. Now I see why people are saying that. Yeah, it doesn't make sense in some ways. Like, he should have been fine. But anyways, he tried making all these precautions. I'm not going to nitpick over this stuff now. I've seen Tekken 101 do that already. And I'm like, if I start going down that, I might find a few things too. And I don't want to make this conversation about that. I want to go over this next chapter, which is excellent. And with a different part. And so anyways, yeah. And we covered what was happening there. And we saw the main part of this too was like Sanji was like trying to. Sanji heard some Vegapunk when he last talked to him, like before he got killed. Like, okay, Vegapunk gave him this vague message, and Sanji was mulling over that. And then we got the flashback, and the last part there was just the Straw Hats and Luffy celebrating that they escaped. So, anyways, let's get on to this. So here we go. So this one's called Best Friend. I forget that I say fit to cover the titles, and this one's has to do with also there's a cover story. I've been forgetting to bring those up because I like to get into the main story, but this still has to do with Yamato, and the last one had her hanging out with one of the red scabbards and those kids who were picking on her, and another one. And now this one's something to do with her preventing kidnapping. So apparently there's still some criminals running around in Wano, and this one shows her preventing a young lady from getting kidnapped by some bandits or something. Anyways, let's do this. Get my coffee. So we start this one with, we go back to Morgans, and we got Wapol and Vivi with them, and this must be right, this is right after the message must have finished, and Morgans is railing his employees, talking about let's get going here with the stories. We gotta, and he's gonna be covering some other things too, but he starts talking about how they're gonna. So I brought this up before, but Morgans, while he's very good with, he claims to have integrity as a journalist. He also likes to frame stories in a certain way that will sell more papers. So he doesn't always actually tell the truth. And he goes for that here again too, where he's gonna angle the story with Vegapunk's death as if it's Luffy's fault. He doesn't know enough about that for sure. And Vegapunk's message himself claims that he thinks other assailants, hinting at the government, would do it. But he's gonna completely ignore that and go over this. So, oh yeah. So now what's going on here is he wants to talk about the so in typical fashion of and you see some in some angles of news. He wants to focus on the negative parts of what Oda said, specifically with the um, world going to sink at some point into the sea. And he's talking about like things like, oh, the customers who cling to the news will have no choice but wait for this next world. And he's kind of like sounds like he's talking about like saying, oh, they're gonna be so worried about it. They're gonna be hanging on my every word, and they'll be worried about going down. So he's capitalizing, I should say, on the negativity. And Vivi's here, and she is not having any of it. And she doesn't particularly seem like she's going to be able to stop him, but she is sure giving him a piece of his mind, and I am here for it. And she points out first, like you're a horrible person. It's like you should be pointing out, like Vegapunk clearly talked about there should be hope, and she's trying to hint at like maybe you should just talk about the hope instead of scaring people into thinking about the negative warnings he gave. And this, she must have been ragging on him some more before. I think there was a point when last time we saw him where she was doing that, and she's clearly getting under his skin because he gets up to her in her face and he's pointing at her like, "This is my, you're in my turf now, or this one is my stage. So I'm trying to cut the mic from me." And he tries to threaten her by saying, "Oh, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to expose you to the government about where you are." And it just isn't working. Vivi doesn't care at this point, and she just, "Oh, did I strike a nerve? You're lying. You're a big bird with a bigger mouth." And then she goes on to point out, no one's going to actually believe what you say. And Wapo's in the back trying to, "Hey guys, please calm down." And you've got some cute scene there with the other female employees who are still fawning over Vivi's beauty. But I want to point out here, I think Vivi is mistaken a little bit. She overestimates the ability of some of the population of the One Piece world to believe in what they believe in. We saw this very clearly with the backstories of Ace and Robin and how they were both treated terribly. Well, Ace wasn't directly because most people didn't know, but it was still the same thing where the government, and probably through the mouth of Morgans or whoever his predecessor would have been if he wasn't active in the 20 something years ago for 20 for well, it would have been something like that for Ace and Robin, that the people believed the stories about what happened at O'Hara and about Roger being a despicable person, and both of them went through their life with that, having to hear that bullshit from them. And it was just sad to see that people were easily had the wool pull over their eyes in it because of the stuff with the pirates. It's a little easier with stuff like Roger and that. I'm thinking that, so I don't know. That's something with Roger. Like I don't know if he ever did anything. I in my head, I don't think people like Roger and Whitebeard and Shanks are really operating as pirates. They're just labeled as such. I've gone over a bit before, and it's because the same way you saw Luffy. So but the people believe these stories when they hear the stuff like what happens like at Ennie's lobby, and I don't know what stuff. We don't have anything background to like mince to like sift through as far as Shanks, Roger, or Whitebeard to see what kind of things they might have been part of where they were labeled pirates. So, but anyways, yeah. So we don't know that, and so we go on here with Wapo walks in. He's like, well, "Vivi, please, we're gonna have nowhere to go if you keep riling him up." I wish at this point, I wish Vivi could find a contact the Straw Hats. She probably doesn't have a Denda and Mushy with her. I was just thinking she should try to find a way to contact the Straw Hats. So they have their own. They have their own Denda and Mushy. Jeez, I don't even really know now. Everyone seems to have a Denda and Mushy, but I don't know if the Straw Hats do. So Morgans is going on with his gleeful tirade about what's going to happen and how he's you can tell he's just thinking about new ways to frame the story. This is funny though, because you can tell this will be an interesting aspect, because Vegapunk's message told what he had to say, but like it was only one message, so it's not going to be able to like have a counter after this. So Morgans is clearly hoping to capitalize on being able to say, "Oh, this is what the story really meant." And I do hope that some people will go along with what Vivi said and say, like, "Well, Morgans, that's not really what I heard." I'm sure that some people have to be careful in their own communities about being shushed by other people who are more afraid of it. But it's just tough to, when you in this day and age that the One Piece world is in, where the newspaper is the main source of information and people follow it to the T. So yeah, he's talking about, oh, the world's gonna sink, Morgans, and I was like, well, since I live up in the skies, I guess this next era will be mine. Okay, maybe, yeah, you'll continue to exist, but what? You better be careful, because he still better be careful, because he pissed off the government with that story. What did he do again exactly? They had a Cypherpole agent, though, go after him. So he's up in the sky, but that doesn't mean they can't go up and get him. Like, Cypherpole agents know how to use that Geppo or something to get up there. So Morgans is a little overconfident here. So then he turns back to Vivi, and it's like I don't know if he's trying to say, like, oh, I'll keep protecting you, you should, like, stick with me. Yeah, he's kind of, I think going with this, like, oh, you should stick with me type of thing. A little, like, creepy, because he's probably an older man, and it's almost like he's flirting with her, like saying, yeah, you're safe with me now, baby. Ugh. So he's like, hey, princess, yeah, you better fix that attitude if you know what's good for you. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And since she's being the last one left in a perishing world, doesn't sound too appealing anyways. So, yeah, she knows that she's not gonna just hang out. But then, so Morgan starts filling them in on what other stuff that's happening. He's like, oh, you should see this other stuff that's been happening here too. And he starts going off on the two other events with Blackbeard versus Law and Shanks versus Kid. And he ends off though saying, oh, Emperor Straw Hat murders Vegapunk. And that's the last bit we skip with the two of them. And she's like, you liar, stop saying that. And gosh, I hope she gets away from him soon. If I was her, I would have a hard time holding back from smacking the shit out of Morgans. And so now we switch back to Egghead. And we see someone come. It's it's actually not Okiji. Shit, what's his name now? Lava guy. No, I can't think of his name. Give me a sec. Sorry, think a sec. His name. I was blanking on his name. Akainu. Akainu is contacting one of the on the Denden Mushis on the ships. So we see all these ships that still survived. There's like over a dozen or so here, and they're just floating there on the shores of Egghead. And he keeps going, answer me, so on. What's going on? And actually, we cut to a point here. We see that I forget his name. The guy with the axe. He got away. He's recovered now. I'm guessing the other residents, Sentomaru, right? Sentomaru. The other scientists and such he was protecting got away. He's found a little rowboat. He's packed up some supplies and he's got his axe still. And he's rowing away from. We see he's just got beyond where the Navy battleships are, and you see him just there crying. He's probably mourning here over Vegapunk because he oh man, that's right. He might be pissed at Luffy. Luffy promised him he would save him, and he couldn't. Well, we'll get into that. We're gonna see that Luffy is feeling bad for this. So the Sentomaru, is here crying and mourning over what happened. He's probably also upset that Kizaru did the event that Kizaru did here, And that's what we're going to get into here, though. That's the chapter focuses on that. But he's got away safely. He didn't. The attacks he suffered from fighting Lucci and Kizaru didn't take him out, so he's okay. I don't know which way. Hopefully, he's headed somewhere. So maybe, where would he head for? Where could he reach from there? Wano's probably the closest place, right? Or maybe he'll reach G14. So we keep going. We go back to the ships with the message of Akainu trying to reach someone, and we see Kizaru walking around, and I kind of thought he'd be knocked out, but I guess he did do well in withstanding the haki of Emmett, the Iron Giant. So he's there, and he goes up to one of the ship he's on and finds a dead Mushi. And so he's like, oh, he starts by saying, oh, dude, you're making so much noise. Calm down. And Akainu's like, wait, you're answering? What happened to the others? So someone else usually probably answers the call. They must have a communications officer pointing out the stuff. And Kizaru sits down on one of the box there, and he's like, all of them are knocked out. They're foaming at the mouth even. And so he's like, well, and it kind of goes on like, what are you talking about? What happened to St. Saturn? And what about the power plant? And what about the people that we had to stop from escaping? So yeah, that's something too. He mentioned St. Saturn, so I'll just bring this up here. We saw that St. Saturn was not shoved back to Marijua like the other three were 2 chapters ago. We saw him still standing there staring at Emmett, but we haven't seen him since, so we have no idea what's happening there. And this chapter doesn't give us anything on that. And Kizaru goes on to answer Akainu, just saying, I'll let you know later after the youngins wake up. And now Akainu's even pissed at Kizaru. So there's a great exchange that's going to go on here, but you can tell like Akainu, even though he knows that Kizaru and him, they've probably been in a similar position for a long time. Akainu really expects everyone who's below him to almost submit to his authority, and I'm enjoying what happens later. It's just like Fujitora. It was funny with Fujitora because he a newly raised member of the admirals who they're very high ranking, but the fleet admiral is supposed to be their superior, and in the command structure it is. But in here we see that the admirals, they don't care. In certain situations, they will give lip. Maybe it's because Akainu is technically their peer, not their superior. Like with Sengoku, he was like probably 20 years older than them. But now it's like when you have someone who's technically your peer for such a long time, you're superior. But you guys are a little hot under the collar. They're not going to take this. They're not going to take being berated by the other person who's their superior. That's why Akainu here starts blowing his gasket. Like, this job can't be half-assed, and you're not going to get away with any being like he's kind of against a half-assed job isn't going to cut it. But he's like saying, you messed up here. If you messed up here, you're not going to get off scot-free. But now we have an interesting part here where Kizaru goes on talking about. Actually, I'll go over here and do this because I can see this better. So Kizaru, he's mulling over the event that happened here with his orders, and he asks. And also, by the way, they're actually calling each other by their real names, not those nicknames. So Aokiji, Akainu, Kizaru are not their real names; they're like nicknames given to them and they're like code names. So Akainu's real name is Sakazuki, and Kizaru's is Barcelino. But I'm going to call them by their other names just because I'm used to using that. So Kizaru cuts him off and like, hey, Akainu, have you ever had to kill a best friend? And this stops Akainu. And now we see Kizaru cutting back the moments with him and time he spent with Vegapunk. We saw this through Sentomaru at one point, but now we get Kizaru's viewpoint of this. So we get this point here. We get this flashback where they meet each other when they're much younger. I suspect this must have been when he was still part of MADS, his independent organization that was being funded through the that one underworld boss. Oh, I forget his name. I can picture his face. So it looks like what's happening. This flashback was when that's Vegapunk's organization of MADS must have gained attention by the enough tension that the world government had to send Kizaru after him. I don't know what rank he was here now. So when he went after Fisher Tiger, was he a vice admiral, rear admiral? Anyways, he's a younger officer. He's probably clearly not. This must be. See, when did he leave MADS? So 20-something years ago, 22 years ago or so, he was already part of the world government. So this is well over that. So Vegapunk's there, and we see Vegapunk in front of we see Kizaru in front of Vegapunk, and he's like, "Oh man, look at that head you got! Look how low. It's nice to meet you, though." And he introduces himself, and Vegapunk sees what's going on, and he's like, "Huh? How much can you guys pay me?" Kizaru's like, "Whoa, what do you know?" He's like, "This arrest is just a pretense. I know you guys just want to get me and conscript me, so to speak." He says, "And you just want me for my brains." He uses here, get me to use me to help benefit you guys. So how much can you guys put into my research funds? And Kizaru's like, "Yeah, I don't know. You're a funny dude." So clearly he couldn't negotiate on the behalf of the Gorosei would be the ones probably negotiating that kind of stuff. So we jump later to must be after Punk Hazard was the incident happened, and Vegapunk and him are talking together. So this is probably this would be before he worked because Vegapunk eventually helps Kuma, but then Kizaru gets sent there to reprimand him and have him the Saint Saturn reprimands him too. Like, we heard what you're doing with that. You can't do that without my permission. So Kizaru's visiting later on Egghead, and Vegapunk lets Kizaru look at the blueprints, and he's like, "Oh, what's this stuff all about?" And we just see the part where Vegapunk's saying, "Oh, it's my new island of the future. I'm going to name it Egghead. I'm going to build a future of 500 years." And then we skip to another part. Now we skip to the part where Kuma was there while he was being slowly turned into his cyborg form, and we see a little shot where Kuma's carrying stuff, Sentomaru's there, and Vegapunk saying, "Hey, Kizaru, you're just sitting around. You can help too. Lend a hand." So he's carrying around a bunch of stuff too, like those structure beams for skyscraper type stuff for tall buildings, and Kizaru's like, "Wait a minute, I'm an admiral. Why are you making me help with the heavy lifting?" But we saw through Kuma's flashback that he did enjoy some of his time there. They had that one scene where they were all like partying together, and he was eating pizza with them. And even have a small scene again where Vegapunk and Bonnie are together having a good time. They're just smiling together. Actually, it looks like what's going on is Bonnie's like, it's almost like they're doing a photo, and she's copying because Vegapunk's tongue is always out, and she's sticking her tongue out too to smile and smiling with him. But and the last bit here of this flashback cuts back to when he had to stab Vegapunk, and you could kind of show the shot of Kizaru, and he's got like his glasses on, but the way his eyebrows are, you can kind of see that he's the sadness emitting through his face, even though we can't see his eyes. So we can see now that this whole incident has finally collapsing that facade he's had this whole arc since he showed up, where he kept talking about being a cog in a machine and how he had to, he was doing what he had to, and every time, because this happened a few times, and Vegapunk kept trying to appeal to him. So that was like that time. There was a time where he got close to Vegapunk in the command room, and then later on, it was at least it was 2 or 3 times, and now this has finally got to him, and so this is where he vents onto Sakazuki or Akainu, and he's like, "You are accusing me of doing a half-assed job, Akainu. If you got time," I'm gonna read this quote. Yeah, if you got time to doubt, then come see it with your own eyes, shithead. Or it says little shit. I don't know if they're the same age. Actually, I meant to look that up. Let me check that a sec. I looked it up. Yeah, Kizaru, according to the wiki pages, is 3 years older than Akainu. So if this translation's right with him being calling a little shit, that's kind of funny to see him, to realize that. I kind of thought they were a little closer in age. I think Aokiji was a bit younger. I think he's still not quite 50 yet, isn't he? I have to look that up later. I'll look that one up later. I know he's a little younger than these two. As he yells this, the emotion here is so good. He's got his glasses on. You can barely see his eyes, but he's just screaming in anger and sadness, and he's even got tears coming down his eyes there, and it's so good. He's really letting this get to him. He's like, and then he stops. Akainu just there absorbing that, and then Kizaru apologizes to him, and then Kainu's like, it's too late for that now. And I don't know if he's like saying like, I'm still gonna like rip your new asshole, or if he's just saying like, if he's like, I'm thinking he's like saying, oh, you mainly messed up that so bad. I think also what's going on, it's kind of going toward like, the Gorosei are probably gonna punish you too. You messed up too badly here. So I don't know about that though, because we'll have to see on that. I think I brought that up before, but it will be interesting to see how the Gorosei handle this situation. I know that I had a video talking about how they'll probably damage control this with the incident to the world, but I don't know how they'll be treating what's going on here with the officers, like what some of them saw and how Kizaru messed up. I just gonna be I don't know if Akainu is gonna have to be forced to act. So there's a lot to peel over, look over with that part. But that's where we end that bit. So now we cut back to the Straw Hats. And the chapter's gonna finish with them and the Giants. So we see the great Eric and the Sunny sailing along together, and we have a conversation here starting with Frankie and Jinbei. I think Robin's there too, right? Is that Robin? I don't think Robin talks, but it shows someone against the men. No, that might be Zoro, because it looks like his swords are there. I thought that was Robin for a second, but I couldn't see the head. But so Frankie and Jinbei are chatting here, and one of them's like, "Oh, it's too quiet now. Is that party finally over?" Referencing where at the end of the last chapter, the Giants were having this big toast to the Straw Hats and escaping successfully. And so one of them says, I think it's Frankie, like, "Oh, everyone just only had one drink. It wasn't really much of a party." And Jinbei answers, "Yeah, and I never seen Luffy that depressed before." And I think is that Frankie responding? Probably. Well, he says, "Well, we couldn't fulfill our objective, so." And then Zoro over there just kind of like, well, it was not easy. And we get a little tiny flashback of Vegapunk to remind us that they're talking about. And it's that so Luffy here is upset that they were unable to actually save Vegapunk as he requested. And we'll get into that in a minute. Oh boy. Anyways, so Frankie goes pointing out, tailing up all the stuff that happened here, and he's like, "Well, we had to face the 5 elders, one of the admirals, and CP0, and then we were surrounded even by a fleet of warships. I can't believe we were actually able to get out of here. It's quite the miracle. And Jinbei's like, wow, I agree with you. This was some incident we were in. He's like, it's like they're saying we've been through some stuff before. We've seen some shit with Wano and Eni's lobby. No, Jinbei wasn't there, but he's been around. He was there when they had to deal with the fleet of Big Mom's ships, and now they had to deal with a fleet of Navy ships. But now Zoro, I think he's getting a little drunk because he's just like, oh, Luffy, you're an emperor now, but you can't even deal with the loss of an old man. Yeah, Zoro's much better at getting over stuff like that, I suppose. And one of the other two are like, hey, now, well, Zoro, whoa, let's not be Sorry, I'm just looking at this recording. Let's not act like that now. He's chugging a beer though, so that's probably why he's acting like that. So we switch to the hull of the ship, or probably in the Eric. I think this is in the Great Eric, yeah. So it looks like a lot of the other Straw Hats are together there, and they're sitting around Lilith, and she wakes up here, and she's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And then the Chopper and Nami are like checking on her. Hey, oh, you're alive. You're awake. Are you okay? And of course, Sanji's there, but he's just like, oh, Lilith, and he just starts getting the hearts going on and stuff. And Usopp's there too, by the way, and we just see him behind working on something. So he was sticking nearby. He smiles too, seeing her that she's okay. And she starts checking her radio first. I don't know why. Oh, maybe there's just static. She's probably wondering where she is. And wait, let me go over this one a minute. This is way easier to read. Okay, so we get a wider shot of where they are, and we see that there's like a couch, a lounge area, kind of, probably a dining area, really. And they're sitting on one couch area for a giant, and they're all still like have plenty of room to spare. And one of them, probably Nami's, like, yeah, we're inside a giant ship, so that's why everything looks so huge. And then she or someone continues on saying, we're really sorry to tell you this, but, we only could save one of the Vegapunk. We only were able to save you. We couldn't get anyone else out. I'm so sorry. And, oh yeah, smiling Nami, because then we switched to seeing her chat and saying, what happened, the last thing you probably remember was when you got knocked out, and that was Atlas who did it do. Oh, okay, so something's going on here. This is interesting. This is going to go into something. She's like, I understand. I just heard everything. So there's something in her, something with the headset she's wearing is telling her, communicating something to her. And Sanji's like, wait, you heard it from who? Then she's like, okay, guys, give me some space. She starts bawling her eyes out. and Usopp's over there like, aren't you supposed to be the evil one? It's weird to see you so emotional. And then she's like, oh, well, I'm done now. I'm hungry. Is there any food? And someone's like, wait, you got over that fast. That was quite a quick morning. And someone thinks, oh, perhaps it's due to you detaching York from your brain. Wait, what would that have to do with her? But anyway, so then Brooke comes over like, oh, if you're hungry, we got some food over there on a table the Giants set aside for us. There's a lot of fruit they have with us. So we switched to Brooke and Lilith looking at the table, and Brooke saying, "I'm sorry, the atmosphere is gonna be a little gloomy because we look at the table and we see Luffy's over there, and he's still mourning over the fact that he couldn't save Vegapunk, and he's going on like repeating like, I told him I would save him, I couldn't do it." And then Chopper and Lilith now go up to Luffy. Chopper says, Luffy's got it bad. He's only been able to put down 5 bushels of grapes. Meanwhile, these grapes are so big that they're like the size of watermelons, of large watermelons, and Luffy's stuffing one in his mouth. And Lilith's like, wait, what? Only 5? Well, no, she gets kind of mad. Why is she saying that? She gets angry there. It's like maybe because she's worried he's going to eat everything. Uh, what? This is weird. So this is the part that's weird. Um, and Lilith goes on to say, "Oh, that's why you're so sad. It's okay. I just heard everything." And then Usopp's over nearby and he's like, "Wait a minute. You keep saying you heard everything. What do you mean?" And so this is weird. So Lilith goes on to say, "You saw me weeping before because it seemed everyone's deaths were so brutal, but that was all in your thoughts. To tell you the truth, everyone's alive." And wait a minute. But to you, they're dead. Wait a minute. So I first understood this another way. Now I'm getting confused by that. Um, so something wrong. There's something with the way she's saying it. Like you guys didn't actually see them die. But my first thought when I read this, I thought she's trying to say like, I think this might be tying back partially to what's happened in the last chapter where Pythagoras and Shaka and Vegapunk had that conversation about. Let me find that one where they were talking about what it means to die. Let me find that one again. Uh, wait, there it is somewhere. Oh yeah. Well, no, this is official translation is like only question Stella is what death will accomplish. The other translation was like what does it mean to actually die? I think there's something up with this translation, but my first thought is there's probably Vegapunk has probably found some way to back up their memories in such a way that they technically. I don't know about Stella. This is going in some sci-fi territory with like what it means to have a soul and stuff like that. But especially when it comes to the other satellites, perhaps they are in such a way like more like robots compared to a Vegapunk that their consciousness is more of a machine with his attributes that they can come back. The other that'd be four, right? It'd be Atlas, Pythagoras, Edison, and wait, no, not York. York? Oh, Shaka. Excuse me. Yeah, Pythagoras, Shaka, York. No, Pythagoras, Edison, Pythagoras, Shaka, and Atlas. That's the ones. And this really, we see this shock of all the other Straw Hats right there, the six there. Like, what are you talking about? But to you, they're dead. Okay, so anyways, I think yes, yeah. There's something I don't get why she says like that's only in your thoughts. That part is confusing. It's almost like she's saying you guys didn't act like they were this. I wonder if that translation mean you didn't actually see, like you didn't see them really die, like that weren't real. There's something going on there with that translation. I might have to. I'm gonna come back to that portion. I think when the official translation comes out in a few days. So she finishes it off by saying, Anyways, what I'm trying to say, Luffy, is don't be sad. You actually did keep your promise. So she helps Luffy by feeling better, and we end this with them having a party again. And, oh, there's Robin. Okay, Robin does show up at the end here because I didn't see her earlier because she was still recovering before. So now we see the giants. Everyone's together now. Like a lot of the giants have come down to the dining area. It looks like, and Luffy's there with them, and he starts thanking everyone like, "Hey guys, I wanted to now that I'm feeling better." Before too, he was recovering from his Gear 5. He's like, I really wanted to thank you guys for saving us." And the other giant's like, "Oh, we're glad to see your energy's back. You want to start a real party now?" And so then they start saying, "Yeah, get the food and liquor out. Let's go." And so then one of the other Straw Hats goes down to messages to Zoro and the others, like, "Okay, guys, Luffy's feeling better now. Come on up. Let's have a little party." Uh, and yeah, the giants are like, "We were waiting for you to feel better. Let's come on. Let's have a grand old party now." And we see this. There's cook is bringing out dishes of food, And we we get a nice moment here with Nami. I know, sorry, Robin. So she's there and she's hugging Chopper, and she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to get to Elbaf. I'll be able to meet Saul finally after all these years." She's really looks like she's squeezing him, and Chopper's like, "I'm happy for you, Robin." But I have a feeling he's like thinking, "Robin, please don't squeeze me that much. I know you're feeling." So so some of the giants go on and say, like, hey, who do you think's gonna be? Vegapunk claims the one who recovers the One Piece will steer the world. Who do you think's gonna become the king? And Luffy's like, wait, do you have doubts? That's the whole reason I went out to sea. Of course I'm gonna be king of the pirates. um, so we have this last. We got on this last part of this. This is part of a double spread where they're showing Luffy chatting with the others, but we get this wider panel and we get this great big thing with all the straw hats with some of the giants behind them, and they're all having a toast. And Luffy goes on like, even if I had to go up with you guys, no one's gonna be the king of the pirates other than me. And the giants are just like, we're saying, yeah, we know, we like that attitude. Cheers to that. And someone's yelling, oh, is that like a little thing? It's like northeast speed, full ahead to like their um. Wait, shift wakes. Okay, so we get one little shot there with them. Yeah. So this must be like Oda, the narrator. It's like it's saying they're going northeast at full speed, and the long-awaited country of the giants is coming up. The ship's wake stretched all the way to Elbaf. I don't get what that's saying. But we get this one little panel with this mysterious Oda doing one of those things where, like he did when it was like when we knew when someone took when Dorian Bragi took out those marine ships pursuing uh the refugees, the ones fleeing uh uh Egghead, and we get this little like silent. We see this is that a no? It's a person. Excuse me. I thought that was a Denden machine. We see this person in silhouette sitting on the island coast, looking out to sea, and he just says, "Come." Like yes, I hope. Like kind of like I think saying like, "Oh, I can't wait for you to arrive." I can't make out who that's supposed to be. I don't think it's supposed to be Saul. Who else would that be? Who would be waiting for them other than so Dorian Braga with him? The others are with him. Is that? I wonder if that's supposed to be Loki. Didn't they say that there was someone named Loki, and he was the one who was supposed to marry one of Big Mom's other daughter? Was it Lola or where was the one they met in Thriller Bark? I don't know who that could be. But anyways, that is where the chapter's ending, and I don't know if it says there'll be a break next week. But that was quite a good chapter, and I was especially happy with it for what happened with Kizaru. Seeing Kizaru finally showing his emotions was very cathartic for me because he was quite frustrating throughout this arc, as I mentioned earlier, to see him like be such a go along with his cog and the machine type metaphor he used way back there, and now he's finally really realizing like this was wrong of me to do. I don't know if we saw him like looking over the island and like going on watching the destruction that he was in charge of pretty much, but him looking back at how he had to kill Vegapunk seems to really have gotten to him, especially when you start thinking about all the times they had spent together for decades, probably likely like starting with their first meeting, and especially 4 or 5 years ago when he was helping out. He was in charge of basically to watch over what's going on and make sure Kuma and Vegapunk kept up their bargain. But he started bonding with them and Bonnie and such. So that was that was what highlighted this. And now I'm really wondering what will happen with Vivi because now she's trapped with Morgans, and she's really giving a piece of her mind. And I just hope she can meet up with the Straw Bats soon. Let's see, where would they be? How will she get off of there? Because now she needs to. Where were they? We don't know what island they were. Oh, so she and she and Wappo fled Marijois after she got captured. And now we saw that Morgans had to flee somewhere when the Cipher Pole had tried to kill him on whatever island he was stationed at or settling down. And now they're up somewhere in the sky. We have no idea where they could be going, but it looks like he's planning on still staying up there for the time being. But he's having his office, his ship being held by hundreds of news coups, seagulls, and so those things are probably gonna rest somewhere. I wonder if when they like he sets down somewhere to rest. If that's where Vivi would just say, I'm out of here. I don't want to be around you anymore." And like I said there too, hopefully she could find a way to contact the Straw Hats, or she'll probably want to contact Alabasta to contact her guards. I forget their names, to let them know she's okay. But she might want to be careful with that because she probably won't do that because I'm sure she'll be aware. I'm sure she's clever enough to realize that unless she has a way to prevent wiretapping, as it were, she's not going to want to let her position be known. That the Marines will be looking for where she is because they're on the orders of the Gorosei. So she's going to have to figure out some way. I don't know if she can find those Denden Mushies to encrypt her call. And I really want to know too now what the heck is Lilith going on about. I gotta look. I want to look later what other people are writing about that. I'll be heavily interested in other people's opinion on that, and I'll probably do a little short follow-up video on this when I get the official translation on Sunday. But anyways, we're on to Elbaf, though. Now, hopefully, hopefully still Oda was going to a couple chapters or so showing what else is going on with like Dragon, maybe Shanks. Yeah, what else? People like, oh yeah, we got Boa, we got Rayleigh. What's going on with some of this stuff? Because we saw. Also, we might have to see what's going on with Buggy and them at some point. Actually, I bet though maybe we'll get something on Law soon too. I bet Kid, if Kid shows up again, it will be at Elbaf. I feel like we'll see him in Elbaf somehow. So that'll be something too. Like if everyone's talking about how this is going to be an arc. This next arc will be focused on Usopp, but I'm hoping that Kid will be part of that too in some way, where we finally see him kind of turn over a new leaf from his attitude and his way he's been doing things for his entire pirate life, and change a little bit, even just a little bit, to realize I've been doing this wrong. I gotta stop being an asshole type thing. So I hope that arc, when that comes, when Elbaf comes, we'll see what's going on with that. But so yeah, it doesn't look like a break's coming. So next week will be interesting to see what's going on. Hopefully, yeah, we'll switch to that before we get to Elbaf. I'm not in a hurry to get to Elbaf. I want to see what's going on in the world. And so, anyways, thanks for watching.